musculoskeletal radiology, and this is arthritis. So, first of all, what is arthritis? Arthritis means any disease which affect bones on both sides of the joint space, and usually, not always, it narrows the space between the two bone ends. Now, what is the classification of arthritis? First of all, number one is hypertrophic arthritis. Number two, infectious, and number three, erosive arthritis. Now, in hypertrophic arthritis, there is more bone production and there is sclerosis. In case of infectious arthritis, the hallmark is that there is destruction of the articular cortex. And then in the third one, there are erosions. Now, regarding the hypertrophic arthritis, there are two basic categories. First of all, degenerative arthritis, which can be primary or secondary. Degenerative arthritis is commonly called osteoarthritis. And the second variety is Charcot's arthropathy, which is a special one and I'll explain later. Now, talking about the primary degenerative arthritis, it is the hallmark is the intrinsic degeneration of the articular cartilage, what we call wear and tear process. Most commonly, hips and knee joints they are involved. Why? Because they are the weight bearing joints. And less commonly, the shoulders and elbow joints can get affected. Now, X-ray findings include four important things. First of all, in osteoarthritis, I'm talking about the osteoarthritis now, which you all people must be knowing it by now. So what happens in osteoarthritis? There is degeneration of the articular cartilage by excessive wear and tear, and more obese the person is, the more likely is like there is more likelihood that he will develop osteoarthritis earlier. Okay, so what are the X-ray findings? X-ray findings are there is narrowing of the joint space, there is subchondral. Subchondral means below the cartilage, the bone which is present below the articular cartilage. This is called subchondral bone. So that subchondral bone will show you sclerosis, whiteness. Okay, and there is osteophyte formation. What is osteophyte? New bone formation which is pointed in the in like they are the shape is like spikes or thorns, and this new bone formation happens at the margins of the bone ends. And then there are subchondral cysts. These four things they happen in osteoarthritis. This is a schematic diagram. What happens is this is the normal bone, this one. Okay, and this is the bone, as you know, and this blue colored is the articular cartilage. What happens in osteoarthritis? This blue colored articular cartilage becomes thinned out, and then the fragments they just drop off in the cavity because of the wear and tear. So there is degeneration of that articular cartilage, resulting. What happens as a result? There is narrowing of the space. See the space here, and if you compare, the space is narrowed. The joint space I'm talking about right now. So, and what is this redness? This redness is actually subchondral sclerosis, which you see on X-ray. The subchondral bone, it becomes as a result of that friction and that rubbing off, that shows you sclerosis. So this is what is happening in osteoarthritis, and if you see the X-ray, these are the same things. If you see in X-ray, what will it show you? It will show you reduced joint space. First of all, this is the X-ray of the knee joint, and this this is the femur, and this is the tibia, and then this bone is the fibula. So what is happening here is, if you see the lateral joint space, if you see laterally, the joint space is intact, but if you see medially, the joint space is narrowed when compared to the medial side. Why? Because the osteoarthritis, this process affects the medial joint space of the knee joint first, and then the lateral joint space. Why? Because weight of the body is distributed in such a way that it is first distributed to the superior part of the hip joint space, and then in the knee it is distributed through the mainly through the medial aspect of the knee joint. So the medial part of the knee joint is the one which is carrying the weight of the body. That's why it is the osteoarthritis happens here first. So where is that sclerosis which I was talking about? This is the sclerosis. If you see the subchondral, this is the articular cartilage here which you can't see on X-ray. So beneath the cartilage is the subchondral bone, which shows you sclerosis. Now this is bilateral knee joint, and this bilateral knee joint, it shows you bilateral medial joint space reduction. See, both the right and the left legs, they are showing you reduction, rather obliteration of the medial joint space, and there are small spurs. These are the bony spur formation, which are called osteophyte. Here you can see here, and you can also see in the other leg. See here, these are small osteophyte formation, and this is the cause of pain and inflammation in osteoarthritis, because they irritate the surrounding tissues and they cause pain. Now, primary degenerative arthritis of the, that means osteoarthritis of the hands. Now, osteoarthritis of the hands is somewhat different from osteoarthritis of the knee. Why? Because hands are not something to be meant for weight carrying. They don't carry the weight, so the effects would be different. Rather, in hands, the osteoarthritis would be occurring more in those people who work more with hands, right? And in females it is more common, 10 times more common in females as compared to males, and most often it involves the distal interphalangeal joint. Now, instead of four, only two things happen here. There is sclerosis and there is osteophyte formation. Now, which one joint is more commonly affected? The first metacarpophalangeal joint of the thumb gets more affected. These are the pictures of the hands which are severely affected by osteoarthritis, showing you the Bouchard's nodes. Secondary degenerative arthritis. Now, what we talked about till now was primary. Primary means without any known cause, and that happens because of the aging factor, because of the excessive wear and tear and usage of the joint. Now, secondary happens because of some underlying condition. Another process, it destroys the articular cartilage, and then later the degenerative changes they supervene. Now, how to recognize? First of all, there would be an atypical location. What do you mean by atypical location? Means that normally the knee joint or the hip joint or the shoulder and the elbow, they are the joints who get involved by the osteoarthritis. But here now there will be atypical location of secondary arthritis, atypical appearance, and the age is also atypical. That means if you are seeing the degenerative arthritis in a young person, and there is the joint is not a weight bearing joint, and the appearance is also, like for example unilateral maybe, so this should raise the suspicion of secondary. That means some process has destroyed the joint initially, and then later the degenerative changes they happen. Now, what are the causes for degenerative arthritis? The causes or the inciting causes are trauma, infection, avascular necrosis or AVN, CPPD, that is a crystal deposition disease, rheumatoid arthritis, and hemophilia. So that means any arthritis can end as degenerative arthritis, because once it destroys the articular cartilage, it can result in those changes which are seen in degenerative arthritis. Now, this is X-ray of the hip joint, which is showing you unilateral arthritis of the right hip joint. Here, hip joint on the right side is involved, but if you compare it with the left side is completely normal. Now, this is something which can't happen in natural process, because if the person is obese, he will be using his both legs unless there is some problem and he is not using it. Otherwise, the arthritis will be bilaterally present. More, it is possible that one side is more affected or earlier affected, but the other side will not be like this clear, right? So, if one side is clear and the other side is having that much gross arthritis, that means it is secondary. Maybe there is AVN, avascular necrosis, or something has happened to this hip joint, and the resulting arthritis, the resulting secondary degenerative changes, they happened. Okay, now what is CPPD? CPPD stands for calcium pyrophosphate dihydrate deposition disease, may be idiopathic or associated with hyperparathyroidism or hemochromatosis. There is symmetrical involvement of usually both knees or wrists, or metacarpophalangeal joints. There is sudden onset of pain and fever. Clinically, the patient has tender, swollen, and red joint, inflamed joint. Clinically, it appears like infection. Now, so how will you identify that this is CPPD? The hallmark is calcifications. If you see the knee joint here, there are extensive calcifications about the knee joint, both in the AP view and in the lateral view. No, no, this is not gout. Gout, I'll be coming to gout in a minute. What is gout? That I'll explain you. So this is in gout. There is no such calcifications. Okay, that's something else. So in CPPD arthropathy, there are extensive calcifications inside and outside the joint cavity. Okay, and secondly, CPPD is quite rare as compared to gout. Hypertrophic arthritis, the second variety. Now we are talking about Charcot's. First of all, we discussed the degenerative variety, its primary form and secondary form. Now we are talking about something special, which is Charcot's arthropathy. That what is the cause of that? Cause is disturbance in sensations, sensory issues. Okay, leading to multiple microfractures. So what happens is that the pain sensation from the joints that is disturbed, however, it is intact from the muscles and the soft tissues. This is something which is not diabetic foot. Remember this. Charcot's arthropathy is different from diabetic foot. Diabetic foot is as a combination of ischemia, nervous issues, sensory issues, and the diabetic foot happens in the feet of diabetic individuals, most commonly affecting the you can say the sole and the muscle component. What happens is the skin, the soft tissues, they are more affected, right? And together with that, there is osteomyelitis also sometimes in diabetics. But this foot, or you can say this arthropathy, although it commonly happens in the foot, but this is something to be related with the joints. Okay, and although there is the cause is the same, disturbance and sensations, right? Now, what are the causes? Cause is actually, what is the one thing that is causing disturbance in sensation? This one thing is different in every region. If it is for the feet, mostly cause is diabetes. Okay, and since the diabetes results in poor sensations from the skin and soft tissues, they also happen to cause poor sensations from the joints. So apart from causing the diabetic foot, the diabetes will also cause Charcot's arthropathy in the foot. Okay, although very occasionally, not commonly, but Charcot's arthropathy happens. What is Charcot's arthropathy? I'll be telling you what is the appearance. Now, in the hips, the cause can be tertiary syphilis or diabetes, and in the shoulders, if Charcot's arthritis occurs, cause is usually a spinal disease, spinal tumor, or a spinal cavity. Syrinx is a water-filled spinal cavity. Okay. Now, what are the X-ray findings? Remember the 5 Ds: destruction, disorganization, density. By density, I mean sclerosis, increased density, dislocation, and debris. Debris, remember, for dustbin. Okay, all the things which are supposed to be in the dustbin. So if you see the appearance, this is very atypical, bizarre appearance and not fitting into any other criteria. This is the bilateral knee joint of the patient, and as you can see, both the knee joints, they are dislocated, right? Both are dislocated, disorganized, showing you increased density and showing you debris as well. Okay, this is one piece which has been separated. There are some other pieces which are being separated. This is the debris. Okay, not needed now. So these 5 Ds, they show you Charcot's arthritis. So what is happening to this patient? This patient might be suffering from diabetes. Okay, so the joint sensations, they are lost. and as a result of that, the injury keep on progressing, and the bone insult and the other things keep on progressing without the person knowing, and ultimately both the joints, they are like this, they assume this appearance, right? So this is Charcot's arthritis of the knee joint. Now what about the Charcot's arthritis of the foot? In the foot, this is the subtalar joint, which is the joint formed between the tarsal bones and the metatarsal bones. So this should be here. This border, which is the lateral border, it is supposed to be in line with the fifth metatarsal, but it has dislocated medially. Okay, this joint has been dislocated medially. Along with that, as you can see, there is increased density, and there is, because of that increased density, you are not able to see the debris inside, but there are small chunks of pieces of bone separated and disorganization as well. So this is how Charcot's arthritis appears. Now, if this person is also suffering from skin ischemia and from skin ulcers, you might be clinically seeing a diabetic foot as well. Okay, so Charcot's arthritis and diabetic foot can occur simultaneously in a diabetic patient as well, but not all diabetic foot must have Charcot's arthritis, and not all Charcot's arthritis foot must have a diabetic foot. Okay, although both are the result of diabetes. So I hope this is clear for you now. Now, infectious arthritis, the destruction of the articular cartilage, more common in adults, and it usually can be the fingers from human bites, feet from diabetes, and hips from total hip replacement procedure. Usually staphylococcus, and also it's quite rapid. Ultimately, ankylosis or fusion happens. Okay, so this is AP view of the knee joint showing patchy demineralization, that is called reduced bone density is showing you in the tibia. In the upper part of tibia, there is less density as compared to the lower part of femur. Okay, this was actually a tuberculoid infection of knee joint. Septic arthritis of the shoulder. Here, AP view of the shoulder showing you subchondral erosions like this. There is a subchondral erosion and sclerosis in the humeral head. Here and there you can see patchy increase in density. Also you can see here periosteal reaction. Although there is no fracture, but there is a periosteal reaction. That means there is infection which is not only in the joint but also extending to the humerus, osteomyelitis as well. Then you can see here the second metatarsophalangeal joint is showing you reduced bone density as well as absence of bone here. Again, this is because of infection. Okay, erosive arthritis. Now, erosive arthritis, the hallmark is synovial proliferation and erosions in the small joints. Destruction will be there, articular cartilage will be destroyed. What are the types of erosive arthritis? There are many types and quite common. So, first of all is rheumatoid arthritis. The second variety of erosive arthritis is gout. Third is hemophilia, then erosive osteoarthritis. Then there are some variants like psoriasis, Riter's syndrome, ankylosing spondylitis, and IBD, inflammatory bowel disease, which are actually ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. Now, talking about the rheumatoid arthritis, which is the most important and most common among these categories. First of all, remember rheumatoid arthritis is bilaterally symmetrical. Earliest changes will be in the metacarpophalangeal joint or the proximal interphalangeal joint. Radiocarpal joint most commonly is narrowed, and the hallmark is that there is periarticular demineralization. What does that mean? That means the area around the joint, the area around the joint, the area of the bone, or you can say the part of the bone around the joint is called periarticular. Peri means near, okay, in the neighborhood. So periarticular reduced density. The part of the bone which is around the joint will be showing you reduced bone density. That is called periarticular demineralization. That is the hallmark of rheumatoid arthritis. Second hallmark is that there will be bilateral changes. And when you see the joint, see here, this is X-ray hand. Now X-ray hand is showing you nearly all the metacarpophalangeal joints. They show you reduced joint space. Number one, narrowing of the joint space. Number two, erosions. Erosion here, and another erosion here. So erosions, reduced joint space, which will ultimately lead to either destruction or displacement. Okay, how there will be displacement? Because there will be subluxation or dislocation. Okay, subluxation means partially the bony surfaces they are separated, and dislocation means completely separated. And then there is ultimately what you see or what you can notice here in this hand is all the fingers of the hands, they are deviated towards the ulnar side. Okay, if you see, if you see here, starting from the thumb till the fifth finger, all the fingers they are deviated at the metacarpophalangeal joint, and the direction of deviation is ulnar. Okay, this is called ulnar deviation. Ulnar deviation of hand is a feature of rheumatoid arthritis. Now, along with that, what is written here is fused wrist joints. What does that mean? The small carpal bones of the wrist, they will be affected and they will be fused together. This is called ankylosis. That is the end result of rheumatoid arthritis. And remember, it is a very painful condition. So this is for you to compare. This is normal hand on the left side, and on the right side here you see the rheumatoid arthritis hand with erosions and ulnar deviation. Now about the foot, the same features, but instead of ulnar you will say it is lateral deviation. See, all the metatarsophalangeal joints, they are deviated towards the lateral side, and both feet are affected, although the changes can be marked in one foot and little in the other foot, but both will be affected. So in because of that, whenever you ask the x-ray, you ask for the x-ray of a rheumatoid arthritis patient, you ask for bilateral. Okay, you will not comment on one side. Okay, now talking about gout. What is gout? You all be knowing, you all must be knowing that gout is because of increased uric acid levels, right? But what happens when the uric acid levels are increased? Not all people, first of all, let me tell you, not all in patients with increased uric acid level will show you gout. And the level of uric acid at which the patient shows you gout is also different in different individuals. So gout is tend to be, it is said that it is usually it runs in families, and the male members of the family, they get affected more as compared to the female members. So there is a large latent period between the onset of symptoms and bone changes. Asymmetrical and monoarticular. Mostly it tends to affect the big toe or the metatarsophalangeal joint of the big toe. So what happens is that the uric acid, because it is increased in the blood, the monosodium urate crystals, they crystallize out in the soft tissues. Okay, where they crystallize, or you can say uh, they make those changes. They make those changes mostly in the big toe. Okay, now the soft tissues which are formed, the soft tissues with uric acid crystal deposition, they are called tophi. This is a plural. The tophus is a singular. So what you will see is a large soft tissue area here. If you see X-ray, in X-ray even you can see a large soft tissue area, and this large soft tissue area is called a tophus. And inside this tophus is, what is this whitish things? These whitish things are actually the crystals which have deposited. Okay, this is the basic pathology. soft tissue deposition of those crystals, and because of those crystals then they will irritate the bone here and they will lead to erosions, large erosions. Remember, the joint space between the metatarsal and the you can say the metatarsophalangeal joint space, the first proximal phalanx and the first metatarsal, this joint space is not affected. There is no narrowing here, rather there is widening of this joint space. And there are erosions which are called juxta articular. Juxta means, again, periarticular and juxta articular are somewhat similar things, although they are different, but for you people, remember they are same. They means near the joint. So near the joint there are erosions. And since the margins are so sharp and clean, it appears these erosions are due to a rat bite. I think rat is called far in Arabic. So as if a rat has bitten a bread. So these are called rat bite erosions. Okay. So if somebody asks you to describe this type of an X-ray, you will say this is X-ray foot, and you will say this is a PA view, not an AP view, because it is taken from the top. Okay. And the top of the foot is actually the posterior surface. So now this foot is suffering from gout. So how will you explain it? You will say that the first metatarsophalangeal joint is showing erosive changes. There are rat bite erosions, there is preservation of the joint space and large soft tissue swelling, which is a typhus. And if you see here, almost the you can say the metatarsophalangeal joint is destroyed here. Okay, not only the metatarsophalangeal but the interphalangeal joint of the first toe or the big toe is also affected. This is advanced gout. So mostly the changes are in the foot, but sometimes in long-standing cases, the changes also happen in the hands. So this is X-ray hand PA view and this is X-ray hand lateral view. Okay, we'll take a break for 1 minute. Okay, so this is X-ray hand showing you multiple soft tissue swellings, and these are actually multiple tophi. And what is this? This is olecranon. This is the olecranon process, as you know, in the elbow. X-ray, elbow lateral view, and this is the olecranon process. Now, in the around the olecranon process is a bursa, synovial bursa, normally present. But in case of gout, it becomes inflamed sometimes, and that leads to olecranon bursitis. So that means if a patient of gout comes to you with a swollen elbow, think of olecranon bursitis. Now, erosive osteoarthritis, it happens in the post-menopausal females. Changes are like the usual osteoarthritis, but with marked inflammation and erosion. So, interphalangeal joints of the hands and the carpometacarpal joint of the thumb gets affected in this case. And the differential diagnosis is usually from psoriasis. So, if you see the erosive osteoarthritis of the hand in a post-menopausal female, the changes are the distal interphalangeal joints, they will become affected, and this is called seagull's appearance. I think the seagull is called Norus in Arabic, like a seagull has expanded his wings. Okay, the appearance is like that, and this appearance occurs because of erosions. Now the rheumatoid arthritis variants. Now what is common in all variants is there is a negative Ra factor in the blood, there is a positive HLA-B27, and it differs from rheumatoid arthritis by osteoporosis, usually absent. What does that mean? When we talked about rheumatoid arthritis, we said that there is peri-articular demineralization, reduced bone density around the joint, but that is absent in the variants, and there is more periosteitis and ankylosis. What is that? Now, in psoriasis, for example, what is happening? There are multiple things which are happening actually. First of all, multiple deformities here. One is called pencil in cup deformity. The one bone end is rounded and like a pencil, and the other is a recipient end is expanded and eroded like a cup. So pencil in cup deformity. Then secondly is called licked candy appearance, like somebody has a candy and it is licked up, so the bone is resorbed circumferentially all around. Okay, so the details of psoriasis is beyond your scope, but remember a lot of erosive changes happens in psoriasis which is not there in rheumatoid. Now ankylosing spondylitis, HLA-B27 can be present positive. Bilateral sacroiliitis is one thing which is there. What is bilateral sacroiliitis? Both the sacroiliac joints will become affected bilaterally and usually symmetrically. And then the spine will get affected. What is the spine called? Spine will be called bamboo spine. So what is that? First of all, in the if you see the X-ray pelvis, there is fusion of the sacroiliac joints here, fusion of the sacroiliac joints, which show you absence of the joint space here with sclerosis. So that means the patient is suffering from bilateral sacroiliitis. And when you see the X-ray of the spine will be, the vertebral bodies are more squared than normal, and there will be a sheet of bone connecting the anterior surfaces of the vertebral body. Because of that sheet of bone, this is called flowing sheet of bone. These are called syndesmophytes. And because of that connection of the vertebral body with each other, the spine cannot be flexed like in normal individuals, and it can get fractured easily by road traffic accidents. Okay, so bamboo spine, why we called it a bamboo spine? Because this knobby appearance on AP view, on AP X-ray, it resembles the bamboo sticks. Also because like a bamboo, it cannot bend, and if you try to bend it, it can get fractured. So bilateral sacroiliitis with bamboo spine is present in ankylosing spondylitis. Now next comes the inflammatory bowel disease, can be Crohn's or ulcerative, more common with ulcerative colitis. So then comes the Reiter syndrome. Now what happens in Reiter syndrome? There is a triad, three things: urethritis, arthritis, and conjunctivitis. What is the hallmark? Periosteal reaction. Very severe periosteal reaction, and mostly in the feet. So, in the feet, at the site of tendon insertion, there will be these projecting type of, you can say, the bony projections. These are because of at the site of tendinous insertion. This is called enthesiopathy, but if it's easy, just say it is periosteitis. Okay, these are, or you can say bony spur formation. So in the heels, these painful bony spurs are formed. Okay, so this, now we come to the end of this lecture. The overview is, we talked about the classification of arthritis. We said it can be hypertrophic. That means it is degenerative arthritis, which can be primary or secondary, also called osteoarthritis. The second variety which we discussed was Charcot's arthritis. Then comes the infectious arthritis, it can be pyogenic or tuberculous. Then we discussed the erosive arthritis, and the most important erosive arthritis is rheumatoid, then the gout. And then there are some other variants which in which psoriatic arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis are more important. Any questions? Okay, so now stay here everyone and I will continue with the X-ray discussion.